Hi, I'm Tony. I'm an author, presenter at Sky Sports, and years ago I went to the jungle and got ill. Very ill. So this is my podcast adventure to find more energy. It's packed with biohacking, science, health tech, supplements, and some of the most well-known experts on the planet.
This is something I spent 4 months of my life doing with electrodes glued to my head so that you can do a lifetime worth of meditation.
Decide what you don't give a fuck about, which is something you don't care about.
Some of it gets quite out there.
I had some stem cells sent up to my house that I had stored, and then I injected myself with mannitol.
And we even hack hangovers.
Alcohol is poisonous. So is water and oxygen in the wrong dosage.
So that's my podcast, Zestology. Live life with energy, vitality, and motivation. Hello, welcome back. Tony here. It is absolutely roasting here in London at the moment. Look, we don't get good weather very often in this country, so we've got to enjoy it when we do. But my goodness, it is the middle of summer, and you sort of remember that primarily we are very much designed to come out and play in the summertime, and I've certainly been doing lots of that. I know you've heard on my podcast me talk about Glastonbury, talk about the Health Optimization Summit, which has been another great summer festival type event that we've enjoyed here in London. And actually next week's podcast is my presentation from that event based around supercharging your health by combining biohacking, mindset and NLP. So that's next week. But for now we are sweltering here in the summer heat, and I caught up with Amy and Jeff from Hunter & Gather. Hunter & Gather is one of the most exciting brands in the UK in the biohacking, wellness and food space. And I'm not sure if that's how they describe it, but that's how I'm describing them. They make healthy products that are free from additives and are something that, if you listen to this podcast, I'm pretty sure you're going to love. And my kitchen is absolutely stocked with their products. They make healthy mayos with 4 ingredients and incredible ghee. They do supplements as well, MCT oil, and they're growing quickly. And now they're sort of getting listed by the major supermarkets, the major food delivery companies as well. And they've got a great core mission too. So partly I wanted to talk to them on this podcast because I love just interviewing people who've become friends and asking them about their story and getting inspired by it. And I think their story is inspiring, actually. And secondly, it's great when you speak to somebody who does something very specific, like make healthy mayonnaise, in this case a couple, but then you just know you've got so much else to talk about. You know they're doing the grounding in the morning and the exercise and they're wearing the Oura ring and probably meditating, and they've probably got a red light device in their home and all the rest of it. And they're fully on board with histamine intolerance, as you'll hear as well. And they're even making products that dovetail in very nicely with anybody who suffers from histamine intolerance. So I hope you enjoy it. I started by asking them about where the company started and how it came to be. And here are Amy and Jeff from Hunter & Gather on Zestology. Oh, we're recording. How are you?
Hi, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. We were just talking about you about to cough. And obviously I spent years working at Sky. Nobody ever paid any attention to anything I did except when you sort of, choke on a bit of your dinner or have a cough or a sneeze or something. Then they love it.
Gets everyone talking.
Yeah. So it's so good to talk to you. And obviously over the last couple of years, we've become friends and we've done Instagram lives, but we actually met in person properly for the first time a few weeks ago at the Health Optimization Summit. And I've just been so interested in, I want to be friends with you. You both a bit, so I'm trying not to be too thirsty about that right now. I think we'll get on well.
Anytime. We'll come do a barbecue. A low histamine barbecue. I'm all for that.
Low histamine barbecue, definitely. Yeah. I've got some tips where that comes from. So we'll talk about the low histamine stuff. We'll talk about your business. We'll talk about everything. But first off, just before we started, we were saying it's quite hard when you run a business and you have the values of knowing that it's important to rest and play hard as well as work hard. How do you do that when you are expanding so quickly?
Yeah, for me, I definitely find it hard because my characteristic is to be like laser focused, almost slightly robotic on some certain things, very logical thinker. And I love like overcoming challenges and doing the tick list of things. So I'm like, yeah, really can be in for hours and not realize. So Jeff really helps me with that, to be honest. And then animals for me. So I'm a horse rider. So having that kind of pet or something that you need to break away from the office and get outside, that's really important for me.
But yeah, it's super challenging. I'm still trying to find the answer and that right balance. But I think for me, it starts like the night before, making sure I've got the blue light blockers on, make sure I'm not on the phone too late, make sure I get good sleep. Then you wake up feeling refreshed, get outside, get your feet on the grass, get that morning light. And it just kind of settles everything down. And for me, if I look at my phone first thing in the morning, that's just the day started off bad. So yeah, don't do that. I've been really specific with that again recently and feel so much better. But yeah, like when you're trying to do something extraordinary, like grow a business, it's not ordinary to grow a business. People listening to this podcast, there might be some business owners there, but it's not. And yeah, it's trial and error. Sometimes you got that saying about everything in balance. I think sometimes you need to push it to the extreme, and then you need to have some rest, and then push it to extreme. So yeah, it is super challenging.
Yeah, we were talking, weren't we, at the Health Optimization Summit about how you and I both check our sales first thing in the morning. You see how many pots of mayo you've sold, and I see how many books I've sold, and it's quite addictive. If you got your phone there, you're going to be checking it, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I don't think it's a healthy behaviour, but it's the reality of running a business, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't personally have like the apps on my phone for that. So it's only if I go into like the laptop. So I think possibly a lot of people don't split their phones anymore and have like a work phone and a home phone. But I do know some people that do, and even down to like WhatsApp, because it's so easy to WhatsApp and be in work 24/7. So having two different phones, or you can do like dual SIMs even now in the one phone, trying to like disconnect from it a little bit.
Tactics.
Yeah, there's a lot of a lot of tactics. And for me, if you're someone that's really driven, actually setting something as a goal, like this year, I've got a goal to take every single day of annual leave, which sounds like crazy. If you're just working, like when I was working in the 9-to-5 role, you'd be like, well, you have to set yourself a goal to take your annual leave. It sounds like
I haven't got enough leave, but now it's like,
because you're enjoying what you're doing, you're always wanting to progress. So I've actually got that as a goal, and the side of me that hates not fulfilling goals will make me then do that goal. So it's kind of you can biohack yourself from where your strengths are to benefit you in the work day as well.
And tonight, for example, how long will you work until? What time will you stop work?
Oh, so we're very good at that, I'd say. We're very good at finishing. So we do flexi time in the office. So start at 10 till 4 is the core business hours, but you can start earlier, leave at 4, for example, or come in a bit later, leave a bit later.
But I think having a physical office, so everyone kind of works in the office. There's a team of 11 here at Hunt and Gather, by the way, and everyone apart from one works in the office like 2 or 3 days a week. And I think having people here physically and having a cut off where everyone kind of leaves the office is really great.
Yeah.
When we was working from home previously, like pre-COVID and pre-having a team, that was more difficult. And I think that's one of the challenges with kind of hybrid working and working from home.
Yeah. I leave my laptop on at the office as well.
Try to,
Yeah, so that when I'm here, it's laser focused, but when I step away, because of the horses, I normally leave between like 4:30 and 5 normally.
That's good. Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel quite reassured by that, to be quite honest. That's good. What about, so listen, let's talk about the company then. I have long wondered how it all started. And I've also long thought that you both seem to get on very well, considering you live together and run a business together. So how do you do it?
We are very different people in terms of strengths. and actually balance each other very well with that. I don't think hunter and gather would exist if there wasn't the both of us. It helps that we've been together a long time. We met as teenagers, so we kind of went through all the trials and tribulations of a relationship. We lived in a little car for 3 months in Australia with no toilet or shower.
10 years ago now, you know.
That was 10 years ago. So if you're going to put a relationship through a strain, 3 months in a small car like that in the heat of Australia, that'll do it. So well stress tested. But it's definitely about trusting your partner and knowing where their strengths are, where the development areas are, and not being afraid to talk about it, challenge it, and pull on each other's strengths. So that's how we kind of get by the day to day.
Yeah, and there's such a cliche, but it's like we are each other's like yin to yang. So we both complement each other really well, and have like ultimate respect for each other. Now, I couldn't imagine being in business with anyone else but my like partner in life, whereas most people are like, oh my god, I absolutely could not do that, it would drive me insane. But yeah, we've both got the same goal, and we both, our heads hit the pillow at night having the same goal. I don't know what the answer is. Maybe there's a book there one day, how to work with your partner.
Well, when you need a publisher for that book, you know who to come to, right?
Oh yes.
Exactly. But in terms of like how we even started, I think it is a lifelong journey, and that's obviously why we work so well together, because like we said, we're on the same mission, we're on the same path. So I'm a lifelong celiac, so always had to look at the back of the food for ingredients. There was no bold allergen at that time. I had a huge lack of trust in big corporate companies. One, because coming from a celiac perspective, but two, I actually worked in corporate initially and in the pet food industry, and just what I saw going into pet food, let alone human food, just really opened my eyes to kind of the ethics of food within this country and further afield. So that was kind of me. And on my career route, went into a grain-free pet food startup that was championing real food for pets. And I saw the amazing journey of that and what could be done by challenging convention, that I felt in me, I had something to give back from those that are like free from or needed cleaner ingredients or food that they could trust. And then on Jeff's side...
We've had this conversation a lot recently, right?
Yeah.
We've been going for an investment round, so we've been telling this story quite.
Oh, have you?
Recently.
Yeah. So you've honed the tale really well.
Oh, geez, it's quite surreal every time you say it, but yeah, it was. I was quite a poorly child. Had all sorts of chronic conditions, eczema, acne, IBS before anyone knew what IBS really was or it was popularized. All sorts of things, and I just thought it was normal. It wasn't until I met Amy and realized that, food can really interact with the body and it can have kind of a real impact. But things really changed in 2012, wasn't it? It was when I started to run and I picked up an injury. Someone said to go and see a physio, and this physio worked with Team GB. I wasn't nowhere near that level, but he worked with Team GB. And for some reason, he was asking me about what I was eating. And I was like, hey, it's my knee that hurts. Like, don't worry about what I'm eating. And he was like, no, like, let's understand what you're eating. And I was eating all the refined carbohydrates, the pasta, the rice, all that sort of stuff that, all these runners need. And he said to me, oh, yeah.
In speech marks.
And he said, these refined carbohydrates and sugars are quite inflammatory for the body. And I said, I had no idea what he was talking about. But he said to me, go and check out this video by Gary Torbs called Why We Get Fat. And this was back in 2012.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And for some reason, as a 21-year-old in my final year at uni doing building surveying, I decided to go and check it out. So, yeah, that was kind of the start of me becoming obsessed by kind of the low carbohydrate diet, the paleo diet, and the really early kind of ketogenic diet. And it just, changed my world. I spent the next 5 or 6 years becoming absolutely obsessed by it, learning more and more in the ancestral space and being guided by that, not only with food, but how we sleep, how we move, sunlight. And many things that we're kind of told that are conventional wisdom in society. And I started to question all of it. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of things here that are kind of, we're told for corporate interest in some ways, rather than actually what is good for optimal health. I was exploring graduate entry medicine. I was exploring nutritional therapy. I was exploring health coaching, and it was seeing Amy's career in corporate and then moving over to a startup in the pet food world. I was like, like no one's doing like good food here in the UK. There's no options here for people that are following a paleo or low carb diet. We're buying these kind of products from the US.
Yeah. Oh, I remember doing that. Yeah.
And spending
I think we was
fortunes.
like 20 quid on a jar of mayo, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah.
And it was a small jar as well. But I also knew from kind of my career that it wasn't actually governments that were advising supermarkets on what should be on the shelf.
Or content creators or bloggers or anyone.
So there's the Eat Well guidelines, whatever you think of that, but that doesn't actually mean anything to a supermarket buyer. What they're interested in is what's the trends, how is the product going to improve their metrics of what they're targeted on, such as margins and stuff that's not even related to the actual food product per se. It's more business focused.
Big food.
So we, like, from my knowledge, I said, like, there isn't a food company here. There are a lot of great doctors, podcasts, influencers starting to come around in this space. You could spend 3 years training to be a doctor.
Oh, and the rest.
Well, yeah, a lot, or even more than that, or a nutritional therapist, etc. But if no one's championing or got the skills to get these like products out there in the UK and available for easy swaps for people won't be able to improve their health, because the society that we're in now, we don't have time to make mayonnaise from scratch all the time. If you've got a busy family, you're trying to hold down a full-time job, you're a working mum, you're a single mum, you're a single dad, like, people want these healthier options, but it's just not easy. So we felt that by providing these options easily, convenient, it would make more people have the option.
Yeah, and we actually I started to understand how big food and supermarkets in general influence people's behavior. And it was like, oh, actually, like, there's this big problem in the middle here, and there's all these different things that can influence it. And we saw essentially big food, or infiltrating and changing big food, as one of the solutions to the greater problem. So fantastic podcasts, books, bloggers, doctors, all sorts of things, health optimization summit, all these things help to, enable people to thrive essentially and to become better versions of themselves. And the particular route for us is a food and supplements business. And that's essentially where our passion lay. And it's funny how things just happen for a reason. And that's, a big healthy dose of naivety and what would you call it?
A desire to, just a mission, really.
Yeah.
That's how we started off. Sorry, it was quite a long intro, but
no, it's good. And it occurred to me that, do you think part of the reason, I mean, we've certainly found with our business, you can't fake an enthusiasm in the area that you work in, and you sort of get it because you're really into it. And maybe that's part of the reason that you've been so successful. Do you think?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Because first and foremost, we were our own customer. Like, we didn't go, oh.
Yeah, you wanted mayo.
Yeah, we was like, oh, we don't think there's a massive commercial opportunity here, because we don't come at products from a commercial first perspective. We come at products of how do we challenge the convention to improve the health.
Do you really?
Wow. Yeah, 100%. We look at categories in the supermarket.
I can't say that I do that in my business, but I think that is brilliant. That's really good.
It's got to make sense, because something needs to scale. To have impact, it needs to scale, of course. So I think, you do need to make sure it makes commercial sense, or there's a route to it making commercial sense.
I've heard of corporates or big businesses saying we need an NPD product that hits X margin, and then they deal with all the rest after, or they market a product and then formulate it actually last.
Yeah.
We're almost more like formulation, what's the ingredients first,
and then the cost will be like
the cost.
The price will be the price, and then we have to do the price based on the cost, because you need a certain amount of margin for a business to be sustainable and to be able to thrive. So we're not trying to hit a certain price point. And I think that was probably one of our obstacles at the outset back in 2017 when we approached retailers. We were really fortunate actually to get into Whole Foods market after 3 months of launching. But I think that in between with speaking to the big guys like the Tesco's and the Sainsbury's and the Waitrose of the world, like they could not understand a £5.99 jar of mayonnaise. So it was like, who is going to spend that amount on mayonnaise? So we was quite ahead of the curve back then, and that was one of the big challenges. The market has now caught up, and these supermarkets and retailers really understand what we're about, and we've managed to make enough noise now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So is anyone else doing it? I mean, is anyone? I'm just thinking like with the ghee, for example. Yeah, obviously there's loads of people who make ghee, but your ghee is actually probably more expensive, but unbelievably good. And as you know, I made my lunch with it today. But I haven't seen any other mayos like yours around in this country. I know there's some in the US.
Yeah, so as a brand, as a hunter and gather brand, and what we stand for, we don't have any real direct competition in the UK.
Yeah.
We do have category specific. So when I'm saying category, I mean like mayos and condiments, oils, supplements. They're split down into categories and then individual products. There is a brand in the UK that does some sugar-free mayos, and they have got an avocado mayo now. However, depending on where you look, in some of the ingredients, it has rapeseed oil in, and then in different websites.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously we're the only brand that's 100% seed oil free, sugar free.
And look, competition is good because it means there's demand and it means there's more exposure. Fundamentally, we want to change and take as much space away from the two big mayonnaise, or the other guys that start with H on the shelves, and show consumers like actually this is what you guys should be consuming. So competition is good, and we're not like, oh, someone else might do what we're doing. Crack on, please.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't eat into your profits, obviously. But wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, I'm loving hearing your story. Today's podcast partner is Sensate. It is an incredibly easy, fast and accessible way to relieve stress. And you may or may not have tried Sensate before, but this month Sensate have got something very exciting going on, because they've actually been doing particularly well and it's time for them to expand. And they got in touch with me and said, would I, in July, mention the fact, it's getting very windy right now, so I hope you can hear me okay, would I mention the fact that they are crowdfunding their new investment round. So they're speaking to a load of big fish and some much smaller fish like me who might be interested in investing in Sensate. So you can go to wefunder.com/Sensate, wefunder.com/Sensate if you're interested in a company that has shipped over 18 million Sensate pebbles worldwide. 18 million. They're backed by venture investors. They've got world-class retailers, including Harrods and Selfridges, and obviously places like Amazon as well. And it's just a brilliant product. It was mentioned by Forbes fairly recently. If you look at the reviews, people really love it. So if you go to wefunder.com/Sensate, there will be a minority of people on this podcast who might think, I want to invest in that. And you can go there and get all the full details. And if you're slightly less of a baller biohacker, but you're still interested in meditation and relaxation, then you might want to go to their site, which is getsensate.com/Tony Wrighton. Use the code Tony for £20, $25 off, and let me know how you go with the Sensate pebble that 18 million other people have used as well. Okay, so if you want to go crowdfunding, then you go to wefunder.com/Sensate. That is it. Back to the show. Now you've got this team of 11, did you say?
Yeah.
And we spoke before about balance, but I just want to go back to that point. Are you, so I mean, that's really impressive that you've got 10 till 4 core hours and you're leaving the house, you're leaving the office to go riding or to go and do some exercise. I mean, that's pretty cool. It's quite rare. And I personally find that whilst I would love to work 5 or 6 hours a day, it doesn't actually often work with building a business.
Yeah, so just to clarify, we try not to schedule any meetings outside of 10 till 4. So all the meetings are in between 10 and 4.
Yeah.
So people, if someone starts work at, say, 9, they'll finish at 5:30. Or they can start at kind of 7 and finish at 4.
Right.
Yeah. So 10 till 4 is the times you kind of need to be present, but you can flex around outside of that. So yeah, people definitely work 8 or 9 hours a day. But then there's that psychology of like, how much work can you actually do in a day, and how much procrastination do people have, and how much distraction do people have? So it's trying to get that deep work and that quality work in. But yeah, like there are sacrifices. I mean, geez, like there's times when I work at the weekend. I'm not very good at working in evenings because I do really kind of try to protect my sleep. I'd rather it spill into a weekend than work late into the night, because then the next day is disrupted.
I think there's an inflection point as well. Like there was definitely a point at which I felt like I was doing 5 people's job. And it was that transition between, okay, you've got to the point where you need to recruit someone, but then you've got to do all of the work and then recruit someone.
Yeah.
And the interview process, like we was just talking about it at lunch today with some of our recent recruits, and they were like, did you go through that same process that you did with me with other candidates? And it was like, yeah. And it probably was a good 40 to 50 hours worth of interviews for one role.
Wow.
And that's literally like what, a whole working week to find one role.
Yeah.
Trying to fit around doing a day job as well. So that was more of the pinch point, moving from no team members to recruiting. Now you've got some of the team members, the onboarding process a bit easier because you can share it around and things like that.
Yes, we've got like a head of marketing that's just started on yesterday. He spent 9 years at Nike, and most recently a supplements brand. So super exciting hire. He's so excited to kind of get started and really help us kind of transform our messaging and really kind of enhance and elevate the business. And I touched base with him this morning and said, hey, like how's the onboarding process going? We use Asana, and I kind of have like a template where people go through, and he's like, it's so seamless. It's remarkable. And that's what I'm referring to about like deep work, spending time investing in creating a template like that, so you can actually scale that process up rather than just fighting fires and being frenetic. And that's where it comes back to balance. So sometimes you really got to push that envelope, but then it's an investment in your time for the future, because then I
think we've probably done that quite well. I would say that's just been a strength, is always thinking 6 months ahead if we can, if not a year ahead, of what will we need at that point, rather than solely always being in the moment and making short, rash decisions or firefighting constantly, trying to push ahead. And you might have a sacrifice of, a couple of a week or month or even 2 months of that hard graft, but it will set you up for, like Jeff said, much easier transitions into things down the line. Yeah.
And you pretty much brought out a product for me, which was very nice of you, wasn't it? Because we started talking about histamine intolerance a while back, and it obviously very much resonated with you. Oh, brilliant! Yeah, I love the histamine intolerance products, and I mean, they're not marketed as histamine intolerance products, but actually, especially what I love is the olive oil mayos, which is brilliant. And would you say that you suffer from histamine intolerance yourselves, both of you?
Yeah, I didn't know what it was until really speaking with you, and it was the start of the lockdown, and I'd got into kombucha, because it was deemed a healthy product. The sugars are kind of used up in the process of making booch, so it's really low in sugar. It's great alcohol alternative. Not that I drank much anyway.
Well, I think what it was, I'd stopped drinking myself back in December 2019. And then, you know, the constraints come around in society, and I saw people kind of turn into drink, like friends and family. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going to ride this out and not drink until we're out of any restrictions, which obviously lasted quite some time. And I had my first bottle of red wine, of all things, histamine related, for my birthday, which was about 18 months later. But we got some kombucha because that'd be nice, because it was a very nice May 2020. The weather was really great, if I recall. So it was outside drinking kombucha.
And I mean, like, I would say my characteristic is almost horizontal in most situations. Like, I'm pretty laid back. I don't get over like excited about anything externally, and I take on like risk and stress quite well. However, after having quite an influx of kombucha and sauerkraut, fermented type products, I started getting this like heart racing feeling, and like headaches. And I used to actually get them when I was younger, and I thought it was light related. It would be very inconsistent, maybe every 6 months, maybe. So nothing that you necessarily really worry to focus on. As we know, as humans, we often just ignore a lot of symptoms if there's not a clear pattern as to why. And obviously, I started to feel very strange, bad stomach. And then I started to look actually as well at Ben Lynch, Dirty Jeans, and yourself, and thought, okay, it could be this. Started a low histamine diet, improved significantly. And then when we had the Instagram live, kind of cemented that in that this is what it was, and just trial and error over different foods and what I could personally tolerate. And I'm very much, I know Health Optimization Summit is very biohacker focused. I'd say like I'm an old school ancestral biohacker, if that's a thing. I'm terming it my own thing, where I'm not really a tech savvy biohacker. I'm more of a how do I feel intuitive. Like I can tell when I'm in ketosis, for example, because of the way I feel. And with the histamine, I can feel when my bucket is almost overflowing.
Oh, lucky you. I don't know until it's over.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, it's brutal.
I can feel it almost like it starts to like, it's hard to explain.
Like a cloud?
A start of a cloud, a bit of a brain fuzz almost. And then I just need to know, like, don't have smoked salmon like today, or don't have, just switch.
But yeah, subsequently, I know it's not, you're not defined by your genes, etc., but we're both genetically susceptible. We've both got different SNPs, and have different effects on different enzymes. Mine's the DAO one, and yours is the other one.
MTHFR.
Well, we've both got the MTHFR. We're both homozygous for the C677 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then we've also got the other SNP related to the enzymes for histamine. So yeah.
Which I just want to say, for people that are listening thinking, what the bloody hell is that? It actually impacts between 50 to 60% of the population. It's huge. So if you do get issues like...
That's the methylation one. Yeah.
The methylation, which if you get tired, you've got issues with kind of energy, the methylation cycle or histamine, it can be related to that. And
it's obviously you're not defined by them. So yeah, we've not gone down too many rabbit holes, but you start speaking to family who you know will also have, this mutation due to how we've got them, and you start seeing kind of their medical history and things like
the snotty nose, the runny eyes, the headache,
even down to like miscarriages, right? At certain points in the family, it's like, wow, like it's so sad to know that people don't have this insight or don't know this and just go through life like wading through treacle because they feel so bad, and they start self-medicating with alcohol, with medication, or all sorts of things. And it's just it's quite enlightening. You feel blessed that you have this information, and you just want as many people to have this information. And that actually circles back to why our brand exists, right? I started to feel so much better in 2012. I went on a pursuit of how can we enable as many people to feel as great as possible and have that transformation. And that's fundamentally why we exist. So all this stuff about, is our product commercially viable? Can we scale up? It all comes back to how to give the people the tools to thrive. There's my pitch.
And I've seen so many more people with histamine related issues lately. I don't know if you have, Tony, but we have so many customers asking about it now. Whereas when we first started, we didn't really so much. So I don't know if it's becoming more like awareness around it.
I think it probably is. I mean, I think I've been suffering with histamine intolerance longer than the term has been in existence. And I started my second Instagram account really as a bit of a hobby a couple of years ago. And it's now the biggest histamine intolerance Instagram in the world. You know, it's like, and we get a lot of new followers every day. And I think COVID tipped a lot of people into histamine issues actually with long COVID. And either that or the vaccine. Some people feel like that's had an impact on the histamine issues as well. So that's encouraged a lot of people. And then I don't know if you've come across Tina Piers, but she talks quite a bit about long COVID, histamine, and the menopause as well. And there was massive links between MCAS, menopause, histamine issues. So yeah, I'm really the last 5-10% of histamine issues I would love to crack, and I'm working really hard on it. And I'm doing detox stuff with my practitioner at the moment. It's so hard. I'm so bad at it. I'm so bad at detoxing. If I could get that sorted, I would just be so happy, you know.
Yeah, it's a fascinating space. Do you find sometimes you can get like so wrapped up in it that it's I don't know how to.
I think for me, when I'm feeling good, I don't give it a second thought. When I'm not feeling good, I think about it all the time. So yes, I do. I can get a bit wrapped up in it. Yeah. But these
really significant migraines as a teenager as well. And
really? Oh, a classic histamine issue. Yeah.
Classic. And it's obviously the doctors at the time are like, it just comes and goes. It might be because, you're using your eyes too much. And it's like,
using your eyes.
Using your eyes too much. Yeah.
Just some crazy. And it's like, why'd you get them every 3 to 6 months? And it's like, you look back and it's like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Not had one for 5 years.
Yeah. Good. Now, before we go, let's have a quick biohacking corner. What is it that you do? That I know you do things like the blue blocking glasses and you do the grounding in the morning, that sort of thing. Anything that I need to know about that I might not already that either of you are into? I'll start it off while you have a think. We've been using, I don't know if I've got it in here or not, because my wife absolutely loves it and squirrels it away. But we've got one of these face masks. It's called Cure, Qure. Have you seen them?
No, I haven't.
It's brilliant. It's red light on a face mask.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. I've seen it.
And it's sort of mold. You look like a ghost. You look like the Phantom of the Opera with this mask on for 3 minutes. And she swears that it is brilliant for skin. And I have to say, I think it's great for skin as well. And it's a nice evening routine and a ritual. And that is something that I'm enjoying a lot at the moment. What about you?
Yeah. Awesome.
Love it. So something we do every single day is put our phones on airplane mode outside the bedroom.
Yes, well done. Brilliant. My kind of couple.
We don't even think it's like a biohack anymore, but it is really, because you're taking that phone device. You've not got. It also takes out the blue light aspect of an evening. So switch it off from like 8 o'clock or even earlier, but just get it out of the bedroom. For you?
Yeah, I mean, we turn the Wi-Fi off as well, so we're really fortunate where we now live. We haven't actually got much infiltration from anyone else's Wi-Fi as well.
Right. Brilliant.
Can't measure how that impacts us. I know they're quite controversial and the jury's out, but I sleep on a grounding mat.
Do you?
That's something I use. I've tested my socket and everything's all good there, and the electrician's tested the earthing, so we know it's all good. So yeah, I use that.
That's great.
Yeah, geez.
Oh, and we now always have like temperature control in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So aircon, humidifier.
I know you have the EMFs and the aircon, but I mean, yeah, that was transformational for us. Even in the winds, like having it around kind of that 18 degrees. I'm very.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Very specific about that.
So when I went to Glastonbury a couple of weeks ago, I slept very badly and my HRV was massive, like so high, highest ever,
Really?
even though I
Yeah.
slept very badly. And I was drinking and stuff like that. You know, I mean, it wasn't the sort of a healthy living couple of times. I suppose it was sort of healthy living because I was outside for 2 days, hanging out with nice people. I wasn't drinking very much. But I just wondered whether it was because of grounding that my HRV was so high in the night. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what? Because you was barefoot in the day, I guess.
Well, I was camping, so I was just on an airbed on the ground.
Yeah, I wonder if it is like also to do with like the feel good hormones, being around people, connected, just that sense of like, just connected to people. We're so disconnected nowadays, like in our day to day life, you know, inside and contained, and like, listening to music. I think there's something so magical about that. And dancing as well.
I do have one other theory, and that is, you know, there's all these ley lines that run under the earth in Glastonbury, incredible magnetic energy lines. And it's supposed to be a very spiritual, magnetic place. And actually, a lot of events in history have happened around Glastonbury and at Glastonbury. So that's my other theory, but that's the hippy dippy part.
Let's go and test it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you should come next year. It's so much fun.
Yeah, would love to. I also wear like these just daytime, like they're called Barna brand. And yeah, I've had a few friends that actually work in IT who have adopted them during the day. And stop.
What are they?
They're like blue light blockers, but like super like low level ones. They're just like screen glasses, but
great.
I find that they really help reduce my eye strain.
They're cool as well. What are they called?
Barna brand.
Barna brand. All right, I'll have a look at them.
Spain.
Very good. All right, now listen, before you go, what is one book that you would recommend and one tip for living with more energy? So one book and one tip.
You probably book.
Oh, geez, there's so many books. Has it got to be health related?
It can be anything. I mean, I love reading fiction just to relax. So it could be fiction if you want. I'm always after a good recommendation.
Yeah, well,
I've got a book then as well.
I've just started reading The Great Plant-Based Con by Jane Buxton.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which is an interesting read so far. But I'm really stuck into a book called Unsettled. And it's about kind of climate change science. So I'm kind of really getting stuck into that.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, and then Sacred Cow as well for me is like Hero's book. Diana Rogers, who I got to meet and had a fanboy moment at the Health Optimization Summit.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I introduced her onto the stage, but I haven't actually read her book. So would you recommend that one?
Yeah, that is really good. Really good.
Great.
And the film Sacred Cow too is awesome. The documentary.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Yeah. What about you, Amy?
On another cow note, actually 2 cow notes, both from my book. One's from Cal Newport, CAL.
Oh, Cal.
Nice twang. There's a joke about that.
Oh,
Gets me into trouble sometimes.
I've had Cal Newport on this podcast. He's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah,
awesome.
really like his books. Yeah. And also The Purple Cow.
Purple Cow, Seth. Oh, that's World Without Email. Yeah, got that. Yeah.
That's the Cal Newport one. And what's his name? Seth
Godin. Yeah.
We've got in the office, we have a little bookshelf in our breakout room that is over here.
Yeah.
And that's really good for like, especially in business or even in just anyone's career, how you can stand out and have different ideas, think against conventional wisdom and stuff like that. So they're really cool. And what was the other one? Was it about energy, did you say?
Yeah, tip for living with more energy and vitality.
Oh, in terms of just what I do and I can't live without, I have to have MCT in my morning and coffee. But that's more of just a product thing. But in terms of like lifestyle stuff, I'd say do at least one thing every day that you enjoy and love to do. Especially again, going back to families, etc. If you've got other people that need from you all the time and you're a giving person, making something that you enjoy for yourself, even if it's 5 minutes, will just make you feel like more energetic because giving to people all the time can be quite tiring in some scenarios.
Yeah, I'd say like also put a finer point on that, because we live in a time now where people think like pleasure or that dopamine response from being on your phone and scrolling through Instagram is actually something you enjoy. I think it's more like you're addicted to that. So I'd say try and have less phone time. And just really just they become so like second nature now.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like spend as much time outside. And I know it's easy to say if you've got a job and you're inside for like 10 hours a day, but just every little moment you can. Yesterday I felt quite tired. I was away at the weekend trying to see the Chili Peppers in Glasgow, and it was cancelled. So I was quite tired yesterday at work here in the office, but fortunately I could go outside, took the laptop outside and the stand-up desk, and spent 2 or 3 hours outside and felt amazing and felt really energized, even though I was going through pretty hard work. So that is what brings me more energy, being outside.
Brilliant. Yeah. Definitely the same for me as well. Now I've got to go because I'm interviewing the woman who's invented this. Did you ever play around with this at the Health Optimization Summit? Flex Beam.
Were they? I think they were next to us.
Yeah, they were. That's right. They were. Yeah. It's brilliant bit of kit. Really impressive. So I'm interviewing her now.
Red light, isn't it?
It's red light. Yeah. So we've got all sorts of red lights devices going on here. We've got a Juve, and we've got the face mask, and we've got that as well.
Can people see into your house?
I know. I mean, it is a weird world, isn't it? Like, I think my neighbours think I'm utterly extraordinary. But
you are.
Look like Amsterdam from outside.
Yeah. I got a sauna in the garden as well. That's the super weird bit. But anyway, listen, it's so nice to talk. I'm so happy everything's going well for you. Good luck with the crowdfunding. If there's anything I can do to help with that, then please let me know. And also, where can people find more about you?
Yeah, so the best bet is our website, hunterandgatherfoods.com. But if you just type Hunter and Gather into Google, we come up. Other search engines are available. That's the best bet. And then you can link to our Instagram, Facebook group and things like that. And yeah, come and have a chat with us. We're very active within our Facebook group, Jeff and I. So you can speak to us as the founders.
And for anyone who hasn't tried the horseradish mayo, it is good. It is good on just about everything.
It's your favourite. I love that one too.
It is my favourite. Yeah. Great to talk anyway, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
A quick reminder that this podcast is brought to you by Sensate, an incredibly easy, fast and accessible way to reduce stress. And I feel pretty relaxed after having talked to Amy and Jeff on this podcast, but I can always do a little bit more de-stressing. So we've been talking about this sensory stress management device for a while. It's something you hang around your neck, and it looks like a pebble. And if you're someone who finds it quite hard to meditate, this will help. So Sensate, and in just 10 minutes, or you can do 20 minutes, you can do whatever you like. But I tend to do it for about 10 minutes at a time, and it's lovely. And I'm walking to the local coffee shop this morning to do a little bit of work, and I think the Sensate is in my pocket. So I might even lie down in the sun on Turnham Green here in West London and do a little bit of meditation at some point with the Sensate. And I met someone the other day and they said, is Sensate the same as meditation? To which I said, definitely. You know, any sort of meditation or any sort of trance is simply an altered state. It's taking yourself to a different place. Meditation, as a definition, encompasses many different forms. And to me, a meditation is that altered state. Now, I trained in NLP, where you might call it hypnosis, but if you do, Sensate definitely induces a mild hypnotic altered state. So I think if you haven't tried Sensate yet, it's worth doing. And as I said last week on the podcast, this same friend that I was at her house the other day, she's a podcast listener actually, but now she's become a friend, and she's got 4 Sensates in her house, 1 for each member of the family, which is actually, just come to think of it, there's 5 members of her family. So how come she's only got 4 devices? I think she might have said one of her family members was a bit reluctant to get one. But anyway, I hope she used the code. It's Tony when you go to their site. So if you go to getsensate.com/Tony Wrighton and use the code Tony, you'll get £20 or $25 off. She could have saved herself $100. So I hope she did. And we need to get her one more device for the other family member. But anyway, look, the other thing about Sensate is they're crowdfunding at the moment. And now this is a chance for the ballers amongst the listeners to Zestology podcast to get involved in a slightly different way. If you are interested in owning a chunk of Sensate, they are crowdfunding, and the link is on the site and on the podcast link as well. And you can head over to their crowdfunder, and I think it starts at £250. You can own a slice of the company. Comes with loads of perks as well. And having spoken to Sensate, this is something they're very keen to push in July. So they've done all these, originally they've done all these fund round raises, and they've shipped over 18 million devices. So they're quite big already, but as with all these companies, they need to scale further. So perhaps you own 4 Sensates already and you now want to own a piece of the company. You can head to their crowdfunder and get involved that way. Right, that is it. It's still very hot in London. It is not even 9 o'clock yet. And it's a beautiful, sunny, glorious morning. Probably about 24 degrees, just a coolish breeze still, but that'll go later in the day. And I'm going to go off and make the most of summer now. Next week on this podcast, it is my presentation from the Health Optimization Summit on supercharging your health by combining biohacking, mindset and NLP. And this is something I put a lot of time into that presentation and enjoyed it a lot. And it's something that I'm very passionate about, actually. NLP combines with health and wellness so well. And I'll tell you why. It provides the discipline that means you can actually improve your life and your health and your mindset from trying out all this stuff. There's no point in having a Sensate if it sits in a drawer and you don't actually have the self-discipline to sit down and use it. And that's where I think NLP comes in nicely. So we will talk about that next week on Zestology.